Hello, it's me, the True Party King. Welcome to the Mind Crush Palace. How you doing? I'm just coming off of my very, very, very sad defeat at Orlando with the latest Mind Palace question of what pile did I bring to Orlando? Because I had been scheming up a lot of piles leading up to this the debut that I will say that especially the list that I actually brought to Orlando, even though it was 60, it never failed me once. I played 15 matches, basically a bunch of pods after I got off, and giant card things, and anything I could, any major competition or even side competition that I could enter, I did, even though I lost a lot. But it was all on me as a player. I feel very disappointed, but in many ways energized for the next major, because I learned a lot, especially about pile decks and how consistency really isn't just about cutting it to as few cards as possible so you can see card X more than not. So, I will give another warning before we begin. There will be quite a few 60 card piles, so if you are allergic, you may exit now. You may exit now. The true goats of this community that are truly ready to take home the gold for Amaryllis will have the constitution and will have the drive to push forward. Well, I showed you some crazy lists that I made along the way, and I will say a lot of them are totally for fun. Like, this is not, a lot of these are not going to be top meta contending relevance. I'll let you know if I think this is a legit list, but basically, to start, this one, I'll admit, I didn't have a whole bunch of testing on, but I really like the concept, so I do want to share, because it was pretty much the first, one of the first testings that I did after Worlds, which was a instant fusion Amaryllis list, where instead of solely relying on finding lights and darks that you can eventually get to the Chaos Sorcerer, you can use instant fusion as a card that can basically be either a light or dark at any instant. So I thought, at any instant. I thought it was just a funny concept, because obviously the biggest problem with Chaos Sorcerer is the fact that a lot of times you have darks and not lights, or vice versa. So this helps solve that problem, even though, I'll be honest, Chaos and Edison is just really not it, because there's only one Chaos Sorcerer. What are we really doing here? Why are we doing this? So anyways, moving on from that, here's another kind of fun list, I'll admit. This Forced Reclamation Amaryllis. This thing, oh my gosh, it's just too much fun. And I hate how restrictive it is, and how like you literally need Dark World Lightning or Drill Warrior or to miss off of Mind Crush in order to get the initial activation of Forced Reclamation. But after that, if you flipped Card Destruction or a Morphing Jar and you actually discard quite a few cards, you can basically just OTK your opponent. Like, they basically just forced to discard like almost everything. Plus, not to mention all your discard traps. So I thought it was actually a really cool idea, even though, understandably, it's not. It is going to probably take a lot more work, but I think this is a nice foundation to build upon if you really want to push Forced Reclamation Amaryllis, or just regular Forced Reclamation Quick Draw, which I have worked out, even if I'm not going to show it here, because it's more of an Amaryllis-centered channel, I feel. So, now, I want to show a list that I actually do think is quite powerful. No, I'm kidding, actually, it's a Christmas list. I'm kidding. It's a 60 card frickin' like Magical Merchant pile Monster Mash Kododama OTK goodness. But I will say, against people that I normally lose to, especially at locals and stuff, this actually cooked and was actually quite terrifying, because funny enough, like I would just set something and they'd be like sweating because it's like, oh no, do I have to go like -3 to set up a brio to bounce it to get some damage in and then hopefully brio it again? But like, you know, I just have some like cool counter thing, monster, whatever. And yeah, I ever have friends be like, oh, I think it's like it's the second. It's always the second or third set card. Except for the first one with Luca or the True Party King. Yes, you know, as on the internet, I'm the True Party King, right? Anyway, so I'm kidding. This is actually like probably the most fun list that I could ever make, which is why it was like the Christmas list. We even put freaking snowman eaters in there. And Debris Dragon. Normally I hate Debris Dragon, but I feel like he's actually kind of valid in this list. So okay, here's a real list. What I actually believe could take some W's because it had a pretty good win rate with me whenever I take it on ranked and everything, which is 40 card Teledad Amaryllis. And not gonna lie, this thing kind of cooked, especially with I feel like Summoner Monk could really work well in this list. It's not in here currently, obviously. This is what I tested on, but I feel like this list is it's just so solid. Because I'll be honest, without the Light Sworns and like the recursive cards that would get you a lot of value, even though Amaryllis herself is a great card to defend against with your trap cards, I figure that with something like Snipe Hunter, that's just more of like a just get in there and just clear a bunch of stuff and just push. Setting up a decree, it kind of was everything. It kind of killed, not gonna lie. So this actually I think is pretty solid. So I will give my my seal of approval on that list. Then the next one though, because you know we did have some more fun before we totally solidified, would have to be the Magic Planter building. We actually did 2 lists. I'm going to back up because I'm going to put 2 lists over here. And I will say, if you look at both these lists, both of them are here. I will recommend the 60 card list because I actually took the 40 card, this terrible 40 card list, and I have never lost so much at that locals and other instances with friends. It was just a complete and utter disaster. So like maybe something in between that over there, but I definitely give my approval more to a 60 card list because yeah, it just wasn't consistent enough. Like you need I feel like Snipe Hunters and other cards that really just help push for value. And I feel like if you're going to play 3-ofs, you do need to play more like 60. But I would say, and I'm not gonna hint too much of this because this is like something maybe for another video, but I will hint that I've become more of a semi max kind of guy where if I'm going to be playing in the 40s, I don't like a lot of 3-ofs, if any. But after representing this list, which I think is also kind of valid, even though, you know, definitely not compared to what I actually took to Orlando, because I'll admit what was it, for my list that I took to the RBET Orlando a couple, like 2 years ago, was also main decking Gravity Bind, and I was like, you know, after how horribly this ran, I don't think I can bring another Gravity Bind list to an Orlando competition. Even though I did technically get the same record at the Ultimate Time Wizard with this next list, it is like the Gravity Bind list, like I knew it was just bad. Whereas at Orlando, I was bad. But the deck, like after I'd make a horrible misplay that I realized was completely game losing, I'd be like, wow, if I just did like the other thing. But anyway, so with the grand reveal of the final dad list, here it is in all of its beauty and glory. Ta-da! This is what I brought to Orlando, and it did actually really well. like actually really, really well. Like I was actually surprised how well it did, especially with the lava golem. So not gonna lie, lava golem kind of cooked, and like so many times just having extra trade-in targets, like that was just solid. And sometimes you just discard it, and the opponent would still think like, oh, I have to play around that from now on because now I know that's a thing because like since lava golem is such a non-existent threat in Edison, once it is presented as a threat, that's like all they can think about. Similar to like Vortex before. I kind of saw Lava Golem as like a new Vortex, where obviously I was loving Vortex, but you know, having more trading options and just having more copies of cards like Vortex was actually pretty legit. And so many times you could just like, you know, you could just Lava Golem the opponent, Hidden Armory, search, Mark of the Rose, activate Mark of the Rose, maybe even Miracle Fertilizer, bring back something. Like, it's pretty good. It was pretty good. And so many terms like, yeah, just like steal a guy, hit them for 3k after attributing 2 of their monsters, then bring it back to them, another 1,000. And like, oh my gosh, it was actually also be so funny because as you can tell, I also ran compulsory activation device. So having that also as like something where they thought, oh, like I'll let you know, one game, beautiful, 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 beautiful. My opponent had like I think like a Duplock setup, and I was like, yep, tribute it off, bring out Lava Golem, compulse Lava Golem back to hand, swing, they drop Gores. Lava Golem. Lava Golem, the Gores, and the Gores token. Set, break, pass, they take 1,000. They're like, okay, well, I'll switch to attack. Like, give them a moment of happiness, of feeling like, oh my god, wow, I finally have a Blue Eyes on my field. Whoa, and take it away immediately. Dude, I made some guy so salty that he literally left his like 20th or 200th YCS mat at the table. I didn't even realize the judge came and was like, oh, what? No, I was there. No, I gotta find this guy. And I'm like, yeah, I think you have like his info. You should like go help him out. But I will say, he also did leave this little green die that if I ever see him again, I will return. But I felt like in some ways I deserved to keep this little green die because that thing just like the snipe hunter was not missing and he was getting so upset. Oh my gosh. I mean, sometimes you win some, sometimes you're up against Lightsworn and one time Wizard and they like open with Lumina, Jane, Wolf, Oppression, Honest in Hand, Gardner in the graveyard into Judgment Dragon. After they heavy storm their own Oppression and my Mirror Force. You know, sometimes it's just like that. And then, like, the Lightsworn opponent will be like, you know, that's so crazy. I've had, like, nothing but horrible luck against everyone else, but against you, I'm just opening up charge into recharge every single turn. I'm like, yeah, I can, yep, this is not even a surprise for me at this point. So I will say, I did also get sacked pretty hard against some people. But against one of the same Lightsworn opponents, they did Ryo my Lone Fire, and I will admit I am still quite new to Edison, and I forgot that you cannot Thunder King Ryo an effect that starts a chain. So now I'll never forget. So at least that. Never gonna forget. Literally the next week, someone tried to Ryo my Lone Fire, and I was like, no, I know now. I know now. You can't do that. If only I did it when it mattered, but now I know. I never lose if I learn. I know a wise man once said that. So, anyways, this list did amazingly. I can't say more about it. It's a beautiful list. Though I will say, if you really are allergic to 60 and you really, really want to try Theft Teledad, I will present to you a 40-ish card list that will probably make you just as uncomfortable. Ta-da! introducing the semi-style list. And then I'll say goodbye.